All right, everybody, rider questions answered. Doing this a little bit differently, not on a live stream, pre-recording it. Let's get some questions answered for you today. If you want the chance to ask me some questions, head over to yammynoob.co, become a member, join the Discord, get access to win our giveaway motorcycles. It's a great time. We have a spicy new Honda coming up for grabs here in April, so don't miss your chance to win it. Let's start off with the very first question we have from Lohofsen on YouTube, something like that. Will the new MT-07, the 2025, be as good of a stunt bike as the previous generation? Does it still wheelie easily? Can you fit stunt cages to it? I can confirm that the new MT-07 wheelies just as easily as the old MT-07. The frame is largely unchanged. It just has a few more elements towards the headstock from what I noticed that make it a little bit more rigid. That doesn't really have much to differentiate it. I bet you the old stunt cages still fit on the new generation because the motor mounts are still in the same spot and the frame is basically unchanged as well. You may have some issues with the new gas tank shape. I'm not sure about the specific stunt cage fitments on those, but honestly, it's still a fantastic platform to wheelie. It's still a load of fun to ride. I am not a wheelie expert by any means or by any definition of that word, but I had a lot of fun doing wheelies with it. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's a pretty good bike for that platform still. Rezangyal on YouTube asked, will you ever review the TransAlp 750? And I have a strong suspicion that I will because producer Logan is moving here to Austin to help in person at the secondary Yami Noob headquarters, this new Skunk Works facility that we are in right now. He owns a Honda TransAlp 750. It's his kind of daily do-everything motorcycle, very similar to my Touareg 660, so I feel like a compare and contrast is certainly in the books for these two machines. That video will probably get like 12,000 hits, but I'm going to have a lot of fun making it, so we probably will make it. Moving on. Beefy Zog on YouTube says, I'm 19. I want to get a motorcycle before a car. However, I feel a car is more convenient to have. What's your thoughts? Plus, I understand motorcycle mechanics a lot more. Without a doubt, an automobile, I'm assuming you live here in America, even if you don't, a car is, in general, much more convenient than a motorcycle. You can simply jump into the car, turn the key, and go. You can carry way more stuff with a car. You will arrive to your destination in comfort. They are, in general, easier to service cost-wise than motorcycles because you can just take it to any old shop and they'll get it serviced because cars in America are more of a utility than something for fun. But a motorcycle can be more convenient in different ways. If you have a pretty lengthy commute, as many Americans now do because of traffic and more congestion on our roads, a motorcycle can lane split. It can get through traffic more efficiently, so that certainly makes it more convenient as well. It is better for fuel efficiency, right? A motorcycle usually gets between 40 and 50 miles per gallon. Even a sporty model will easily do those kind of figures. If you buy a fuel-sipping model like a Versys 650 and ride it really easily, you can easily see 60 or 70 mpgs if you ride it really, really gently. So I think that if you've never owned any sort of vehicle, a car is probably going to be your best bet just to learn the rules of the road and get familiar with stuff. I usually don't recommend people learn how to ride and learn the rules of the road all at the same time because that can be a little bit overwhelming, and I would say that it's probably going to be better for you to have a car. Also, if you start with a car, buy some nice beater car that's not going to cost you too much money, something you can tow with and carry gear with, and all of a sudden that car is going to supplement your motorcycle journey later in life as well too. So that would be my recommendation for you there, Beefy Zog, with a wonderful username. Kupaliski 3553 on YouTube. Why are those TikTok riders in Dallas so smooth-brained? Ooh, spicy question. I'm assuming you're referring to the more like kind of helmet vlogger, like high speed kind of things. Dallas, for some reason, I think it's the way the city is set up because there's really no elevation in Dallas. There's no twisty roads. There's hardly any green space either. It seems to elicit straight line warrior kind of riding. And I think because most people are very indoorsy in Dallas. No offense, I lived there for many years, and there's really not much to do in Dallas, so people will usually really get into cars and bikes in that place because that's what they just have to do. That there's really nothing else to do in Dallas. It's kind of a boring place to live, if you ask me. Again, I live there. I can talk about it in this way. I think that in the TikTok scene and the Instagram reel scene for Dallas, there's a very specific type of rider coming out of there right now. The kind of flex offender, BMW S1000, late night highway pole kind of thing. If memory serves me correctly, they've hosted a couple of those TX2K events where people come out with their super fast cars and bikes. There's several highways in Dallas that are very conducive for doing ultra high speed runs because they're really wide, really straight. They hardly have any elevation, and it's not enforced super well in certain places. So I'm sure you guys have seen clips of what we call the Dallas Autobahn, the LBJ Expressway. There's that tunnel that everybody just rips on, and they just go super fast. There's George Bush as well. It's another giant interstate that's north of the LBJ Expressway. People always do high-speed pulls over there too, and have done for many, many years. So I think it's a combination of like geography, road features or lack thereof, and the type of people that live there that want to get fast cars and bikes. That would be my like analytical explanation of why there are so many of these specific type of creators in Dallas. So that would be my explanation on it. I wouldn't call them smooth-brained. Maybe if I was feeling a little more zesty, I would. But I'm feeling nice today, I'm feeling nice. X Major Winters SX on YouTube asked, how do you talk your wife into letting you buy a bike? I really want a bike, but the wife is a hard no. So I don't know if I did this as a big brain move or if I just lucked into it, but when I met my current wife, who I've now been with for over 5 years, less than 5 years, somewhere around 5 years, I already owned motorcycles at the time. So there was no convincing her to let me get a bike because she met me as someone who already owned motorcycles, which was nice because I told her that it was a big part of what I do. I had no intentions on stopping, and that's the way the cookie crumbled. I was like, I'm a motorcyclist. This is what I do. If you're cool with that, cool. If not, we should probably part ways. It was a conversation we had pretty early on, if memory serves me correctly. I think on our first date, because it's what I do for work too. So I was like, hey, this is how I make a living. I ride. It is what it is. If that's like a non-starter, we probably shouldn't continue forward. But she didn't mind, and it was all good. In terms of talking your wife into buying a bike, I think there's a couple components to it, and I'll put on my like healthy relationship hat. The first one, it's a big financial consideration, right? Like, most motorcycles cost thousands of dollars. Before buying something that large, you definitely should speak to your partner about it first. It's usually not wise. Life lessons from Yam of Happy Wife, Happy Life. Don't buy something that costs thousands of dollars without telling your wife first, unless it's a gift for her. Then you're good. But if it's for you, you gotta run it by her first, because usually in a marriage, your finances are entangled in a myriad of different ways, right? Either you're the sole provider or you both work, you contribute to the mortgage, right? Like, big money decisions should always come down together. I would ask your wife why the reason is a no. Is she worried about your safety? Is she worried about the expense? Is she worried about time away from family or something like that? And then kind of work backwards from there and try to assuage her of what her concerns are. If it's safety, let her know that you're going to do it in a safe way. You're going to wear all the gear. You're going to ride the right way. Explain to her the statistics of people who get hurt on motorcycles. That it's typically people not wearing a helmet, riding at night, riding intoxicated, not having proper training. If you just avoid those, you're already way ahead of the pack. So that would be my recommendation. And explain to her that it's something you really want to do, right? And it will bring you happiness and joy. And the best part about a marriage is lifting each other up, bringing each other that happiness and joy, and finding the ways that you can support your partner to have that happiness and joy. That would be my Yami Noob green flag healthy relationship analysis of letting your wife, talking your wife into letting you buy a bike. It should be a decision both of you come together. The finances need to come together on it. The concerns need to come together. And maybe there's a way you can meet in the middle ground, right? Maybe you can tell her, hey, like, I'm not going to commute with the bike. I'm only going to ride on weekends, on low traffic in these areas. I'm always going to have an air tag on me so you know where I am when you ride. It's just whatever she's concerned about. Maybe you could just figure out a way to assuage those concerns a little bit. I would not recommend buying a motorcycle and not telling her and hiding it or doing it as a surprise. That's just not good, relationship practice, because I don't think you'd appreciate it if she spent, $6,000 on something you didn't want her to buy, and then she hid it from you. That's like several layers of like, ooh, bad relationship situation there. So that would be my recommendation. The black pill version of that, divorce the wife, get the bike, call it good. Just kidding. Add a BG on YouTube. Hello, Yam. I'm currently between the new Panigale V2S and the R9 too. Funny you mentioned that. The dealer also has a 2024 Panigale V2 with 155 horsepower. What do you think about the old one versus the new? Okay, so we'll answer the first part of this question between Panigale V2S versus the R9. I have a pre-order and a deposit on both of these machines. I'm anxiously waiting for any news from Ducati or my Yamaha rep to let me go and buy either one of these bikes first. I'm getting both of them this year. Very excited about them. I think it's really cool that we have these two new protagonists in the super sport category. And the Panigale V2S, to me, is a superior machine with its suspension, with its ethos. It's a bespoke platform. It's a brand new engine. I think that it's striking the balance better of this new generation super sport. Nothing against the R9. It's substantially cheaper, which makes sense, but Yamaha is using the exact same 890cc CP3. That doesn't mean it's a bad engine. It's a great engine, but I think the Panigale V2S just has a little bit more bespoke, real deal sport bike exotica about it versus the R9, which, you know, it does have its own frame. Yamaha tuned the geometry and the suspension and everything to work hand in hand with the bike, and everyone's saying really good things about both of them. Personally, I do think the R9 seems like a better street bike with cruise control, a torquier 3-cylinder engine. Panigale V2S looks more like an, you know, proper Ducati product. As far as new Panigale versus old Panigale, I owned a Panigale V2 at the later half of 2020. That was our second expert bike giveaway. I really liked it. I thought it was incredible on track. It has a very pointy front end. It has a very sharp kind of feel to it. It's super nimble with that V-twin engine. To me, it's a very nice, hopped up, proper, sporty, sharp Ducati product. And, you know, the Super Quattro engine is just super sick. Like, that's a really cool V-twin that they shoved in there. And it was really the last of its kind, you know. Once Ducati went V4 with the flagship Panigale, the Panigale V2 with the Super Quattro engine, 155 horse, Desmo, and I think it was single-sided swing arm, if memory serves me correctly, too. You know, that was really classic Ducati stuff. The new Panigale V2 it's a new thing. It's a new vibe, and I really think it makes for a way better street bike than the old Panigale. The old Panigale was hot, it was uncomfortable, and it was pretty aggressive for what it was. So I would ask about your use case with both machines. Are you going to be 50-50 on track? Then you're probably going to be better off with the old Panigale V2. You can probably get a good price for it since they're phasing them out. But, you know, if you're going to be using it primarily on road, the new Panigale V2 doesn't have Desmo valves. It's simpler, it's lighter, it's easier to get along with. It might genuinely be a better motorcycle for you. So that would be my recommendation on the old Panigale versus the new Panigale, and the new Panigale versus the R9. So much more to say about that. As I get these motorcycles, I will certainly create as many videos as possible and talk about these things with them too. Livin' For Now on YouTube. Is a bike with a proper bonded title a red flag? Not necessarily. All that a bonded title means is that whoever ended up with the motorcycle either didn't have a proper title assigned to it or had a weird like jumped title or whatever, and then just had to kind of like start from scratch. Because basically what happens is, like, if you have the motorcycle in your possession, you can prove that you own it, you can prove that you don't have the title or whatever. Like, there's a couple steps you have to take to do a bonded title. But if you have a proper bonded title, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a red flag. I personally have never seen a motorcycle worth buying that has a bonded title, because typically those bikes have had really weird histories and stories and have traded hands like 10 different times. It's usually not a motorcycle that's worth buying that I've seen. But if you have found a clean example and you can really mechanically go through and make sure that it's all good, you know, it could be worth purchasing. But the bonded title itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. You just absolutely make sure that bonded title belongs to the person who is selling it. I've seen some cases with stolen vehicles with bonded titles and those sort of things. You can see some weirdness around that, but the bonded title itself is not a red flag. But the bike with a bonded title typically has red flag issues that I've seen. That would be my recommendation on that. NUSU 5783 on YouTube says, I have no manual car experience. I haven't been on a bike in 10 years. I got a 1000 as my first bike. Any hate, advice, or just comments? Well, not having manual car experience doesn't bother me, but you said you haven't been on a bike in 10 years. It implies to me that you have some sort of motorcycling experience in the past, because you didn't really allude to what that experience was, but then you say that you got 1000 as your first bike. It leaves me with more questions than answers for this one. So how can you have not been on a bike in 10 years but got a 1000 as your first bike? To me, maybe that implies that you used to ride dirt bikes or something, and the 1000 is your first street bike. This question's a little bit unclear, but you guys know my position about starting on a 1000 or 1000 as a first bike. It's quite literally the dumbest thing you can do with motorcycling. There's no reason to do it. It just reeks of ego. There's legitimately no point in starting on a 1000. There's no justifiable reason for doing that, and that's my position on it. I just think it's a really stupid thing to do, and I wish you all the best. I hope that you stay safe, and I hope that you pick up some riding lessons and do your best, but not advisable, I wouldn't say. DigVJ Cole 6746 asked, hey Yam, the MotoGP and World Superbike season is upon us. Can you make a video discussing the developments and everything? Yeah, sure. I mean, you guys know I'm a diehard MotoGP and World Superbike fan. I keep up with both series pretty religiously. I listen to several podcasts about each of them. I read up all the news. I know everything that's going on. But at the end of the day, I am just a humble enthusiast and fan of the series. We are going to be making a motorcycle racing explained for dummies video, kind of a 101 on motorcycle racing. But a big shout out to Big Time, who made, I think Jeremy over there made that MotoGP, the Road to MotoGP video. Really, really top-notch stuff. Really incredible job. Super, super thorough video. So if you're interested in something like that, you could watch that. In terms of current development and updates, I highly recommend the Matt Oxley and Peter Baum podcast, the Oxley Baum MotoGP podcast. That's my go-to. I think that they have so much history and knowledge base, and if you really want to like get a real technician's understanding of what's going on in the sport mixed in with some fun, punditry, the Oxley Baum podcast is awesome for that. But I can certainly make some more MotoGP and World Superbike content, but it never seems to do very well on the channel, which is such a bummer. I wish it would get like hundreds of thousands of views, but nobody wants to hear me talk about racing. They want to hear me talk about turbo boosters, obviously. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching today's Q&A. I hope you appreciated it. I hope you liked the different format here today. I wasn't able to live stream, so I had to pre-record this. And as always, join on YamiNoob.co, be a part of the server, get entered to win our giveaway motorcycles. There's a brand new Honda up for grabs in April. You're not going to want to miss it. Thanks so much for checking out today's video. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Keep watching Yami Noob.